I guess I got a, call it a dress rehearsal, although I'm getting tired, and it is no longer 11 o'clock post meridium. I did a lot of shit talking to Satan on that recording, and so I lost it. Maybe I'll try this a different way. Oh, let's go. What I needed to mention in terms of the two people in high school. There were two people who didn't want me to drop out. My English honors. I realized this while I was talking about it. And there were two reasons that I dropped out of high school. And I was again previously living with a pedophile meth dealer and whatnot, and then I found God, went to live with my uncle, and I was all full of God, right? And so going back to high school, because at least I'm at North, I was 2005, class of 2005. I was originally scheduled for class of 2004. And the Lone Jack High School class of 2004 were my fellows. But I missed out on a year being homeless while my mother was, threatening suicide, and just the whole mess. Whole fucking mess. And of tragedies. And the two classes were honors classes, which meant that there's something extra credit related about it. I forgot how the scoring system goes, but there's special treatment for people who are exceeding or skilled or whatever. I don't know. Ms. Oots gave us an assignment for a paper that was basically for us to decide. And what I decided was, I remember specifically, I wanted to research the biological basis of morality. And of course, looking back now as an adult, I understand fully as a philosopher, all the problems there. But at the time, I was like, well, why can't I? And I was just mad about it. And because I listed like the Bible as like one of my sources. Okay. And then there's a separate class, Art 2, painting, I think it was, painting. I wanted to do a picture of a friend of mine doing that pose, devil horns with her tongue sticking out. Beautiful girl. And it was the devil horns. The gesture itself. It was too risque. This is in 2004, 2003, 2004. I can't remember exactly the year. I believe 2004. And it was too risque. So, in one direction, it was too risque because I wanted to talk about God. In the other direction, it was too risque because it was devilish. And those two reasons were the defining reasons that I decided with a 4.0 GPA to go my own way in 2003. I guess 2004, whatever. And so I dropped out of school. I ended up getting my GED. I later tried I got some credit hours in community college, all that stuff. The whole fucking system. In retrospect, the whole system, my entire life, has been like bumping my head against fucking ever encroaching walls of stupidity. That's why I am the way that I am. Just so you know. The system itself has always been a fucking nightmare. And because the solution to a rational or logical nightmare is so obvious to me, like, don't do that type of shit, as an adult, is that's why it's so frustrating. So I dropped out, and then for 3 years, I partied in Blue Springs, Lee Summit, Lone Jack, and Independence, Missouri. I went to live with my sister after I dropped out. I tried to escape to Seattle to go find my biological father, because that's where I heard he was, but I didn't have it in me. I pussed out, really. I made it to the Colorado border, drove all the way across Kansas. I'm just gonna go hit the road. Probably should have done that. Probably shouldn't have pussed out. Who knows? But I went and started working for restaurants. I worked at Pizza Hut. I was a delivery driver. I worked at Mr. Good Sense. I worked at... Later ended up working at Houlihan's, opening Houlihan's. I worked for Patio Quigley's. And Patio Quigley's, in fact, on Woods Chapel was... Sorry, I just need to make sure that what happened last time doesn't happen again. I was living off of Woods Chapel and working off of Woods Chapel. So it was a straight shot. It's when I was living with Joey. Okay. 2006. This was something else I realized. There wasn't just 2 people tied to Willie. It was 3. And realizing that I am also a unifying factor in that, it holds no water because of the situation. With Misty's dad, out of 5 people, so first it was Misty's dad, died of cancer, and his new bride made off with Misty's inheritance. Misty's stepsister, Jessie Waltz, was in a relationship with William Prettyman. First, Jessie Waltz then got into a relationship with Willie's friend Joey. Okay? I lived with Jessie Waltz and Joey Searing in Blue Springs. Joey was the next person to die. So Jessie Waltz's mother made off with money. I think it was a long con from Misty's dad's death. And all of this makes me just really wonder, like, I don't know, man. But I realized that Jesse Waltz was the reason that I moved out of that house. I remembered having the conversation in my room with Joey twice. Like, it was this fucking hush tone, gossipy fucking thing. And he kicked me out about a week before he died, because Jesse wanted me to not be living there. So there's that. And then Willie's 21st birthday party. Buddy gets upset. He leaves. I chase after him. I go around the party. Where'd Buddy go? Where'd Buddy go? I follow him up the road. Sorry if I feel fatigued. I already said all this and I lost it into the ether. And I said it with umph. I'm really sad about that. But God said to get up and fucking do this, so I'm doing it. Willie's 21st birthday party, 2006. I told myself, okay, so at the party, Buddy drives up the road. I go after him, and I catch up to him, not because I was driving fast or anything, but because he had stopped and pulled over to the side of the road. So I pulled up behind him, and the whole idea is to stop. Don't go driving drunk through. Like, don't. Everybody's drunk. Don't go doing stupid things. We're leaving a party where everyone's underage. Don't go doing stupid things. Also, he was upset about something. I think it was his girlfriend. And I was trying to talk some sense into him. Everybody's drunk, so it's a different state of mind. But I remember him punching his car, and then I jumped in when he started punching his car, because this is a common characteristic of our relationship, was he had temper flares, and our dynamic was comedic. He was a very funny person, and so it was this drawing back out of this place, trying to, calm him down. Except for I was drunk this time, and I was like extra. And so he took a swing at me. We ended up on the ground. God, every time that happens, my fucking heart jumps. We ended up on the ground. And, he gave up. I remember I was pressing his face into the gravel. It was gravel road. And I remember saying to him something that it stuck with me, and I lived with it as something remorseful my entire until now. Because he was like he was speaking in his suicidal dialect. He wasn't explicitly saying, I am going to go home and kill myself. He was like, just fucking fuck this world, that kind of shit. And while I was rolling around in the dust, I said to him, you're not going to do it, or you would have done it already. And I remember knowing that was the last thing I said to him, and the fact that we had gotten into a fight, and him going home, and then ultimately ending up allegedly committing suicide. But after the fight, he gave up, and he kind of just had this to just take me home demeanor. So someone followed him. So someone drove his car. Someone who was more sober, or sober completely. Brad Davis, I believe, drove his car. Someone followed to pick up the driver, left him at his parents' house with his car, a maroon Scion or something. And I remember saying out loud in the car, driving back to the party, that if he doesn't wake up a different man tomorrow, he might kill himself tonight. We're 20 years old. Go back, party's over, and Willie in his Cobalt drives me back to Lee Summit, leaving my car in Lone Jack. Back to my apartment in Lee Summit, Pheasant Run, where I was living with Abby Bruns. And I remember going in, laying down on the chaise lounge, and kicking off my shoes and passing out. And I remember having a dream in the middle of the night of a tunnel, traveling through a tunnel, like a fractal tunnel, and then hearing a sound. I heard a sound and I woke up. I sat up and I said, "Did you hear that?" And I turned to Willie, who's behind me, because the chaise lounge was facing the television. He's on a couch, kind of cockeyed to my left, but behind me. I said, "Did you hear that?" And he's wide awake with his coat on, his Steelers jacket. Wide awake. Hear what? And then I just lay back down and go to sleep. Like nothing. Never thought about it. Then later, after finding out that he had died, that Buddy had died, I told myself this story. That the dream I had with the sound, I lived my whole life with this belief, this memory of this belief of it being a mystical thing. That the sound I heard was the sound of the gun. I told myself that. That I had a dream and I was mystically, spiritually connected somehow to Buddy the moment that he pulled the trigger. There might be truth to that. But what I now think is true, I lean far more heavy, is that when I sat up and said, when I woke up and said, "What was that sound?" And William Prettyman with his jacket on, being wide awake, wide the fuck awake. The sound I heard was him closing the door. Closing the door and jumping on the couch. As though he had just gotten back from somewhere. To this day, and for a long time, Willie's father, Joe Prettyman, has worked in cement as a profession. William's mother sells insurance, including life insurance. William himself, despite being a drug addict, joined the army against his will. William's brother, Wesley Prettyman, became a police officer for the Kansas City Police Department. These are all facts. These are all facts that have nothing, they stand out as nothing to be in particular unique, except for when you add the details of my history with these people and what ultimately became my experience in being targeted by the CIA. So I'll just leave that. So after 2006, all the people that died was Ron Moore, Misty's father, cancer. Joey, accidental gunshot wound to the head. DeAndre Moore, which was my sister's, the father of her children, my niece's father, D. And then Buddy. And then to top it off, in October of 2006, my grandmother finally passed away, Alzheimer's. 5 people in 1 year. I had never known anybody to die personally. And then 2006, 5 people died. After that, my life is still a spiritual mystery, you know. I'm working at Houlihan's. I go to, I'm on a spiritual quest. My cousin gets me a job at the Cheesecake Factory. I turned 20. I moved to Kansas City, worked for the Cheesecake Factory, turned 21, May of 2007. And then we're off to the races. I meet the mother of my children. We have baby, and in this period, in this scene here, Willie is in his preordained sequence of how his life has been decided for him. So he comes back from a tour in Afghanistan. No. If I'm living in 2010, 2011, in on Gillum, they had already made off with. Where did that money go? If Jesse was so fucked up about a fucking DUI, and then guilt-tripping me about it, that was God. That was God. St. Patty's Day, 2011. St. Patrick's Day in Westport. Me, William, and Jesse Waltz go out drinking. I believe there may have been one other person. I can't remember exactly. But I decide to drive. As soon as we pull out, there's a fucking checkpoint. It's not my car, but I'm the one who persuaded everybody, let's drive. I've got this. As soon as we see the checkpoint, we're locked in. Nobody's going anywhere. You can't exit the line. Everyone's fucked. It's some fucked up ass bullshit that they do this in the fucking first place. But there are people who have driven over that wall trying to do it. You could argue that Sunfresh, that wall on Southwest Trafficway, there are people who've driven over that trying to evade a fucking checkpoint. Which, philosophically speaking, there's an argument to be made that the cops caused that accident. Just think about it. Get back to me. Well, if he wasn't drinking, you know how many fucking first of all, you know how easy it is? I would have made it home. There would have been no DWI. It's so easy to drive drunk. So fucking easy. It's kind of stupid, actually. The amount of intoxication, the amount of intoxicated you have to be to lose your capacity to drive is really, first of all, way fucking higher than what it's rated as. And second of all, there are people who are more distracted by birds in the sky that are more of a danger. It's a fucking cash cow. And the niggers, fucking, oh god. Anyway, what happens is I also, with my silver tongue, I convince Jessie that it would be better for her to be in the driver's seat because it is her vehicle. In everybody's drunken state, it is agreed upon. She puts in a piece of gum. We're gonna make it. It's fine. My house is just blocks away. Should have just fucking walked. And doesn't work. Doesn't work at all. She gets a DUI. And she deserved it. This period where Willie is about to leave, he's about to leave. Like, he had signed up. I give him my fucking necklace that he lost. He didn't lose it. They used it in a fucking incantation ritual because I've been a target of Carol Prettyman's since she met me in 1998. Which seriously begs the question as to how these sort of clandestine fucking operations actually work out in the long run in terms of long games. Because, is it possible, I wonder, that Kara's mother, being the fucking wench that she is, or is it just by happenstance? Is it by Satan's trickery? Satan is the one doing the organizing. Or I don't know, man. I do know that I would not have allegedly gotten Kara pregnant if it was not for William Prettyman coming to my house and somehow persuading me to talk to her again, to invite her back into my life, because I had broken up with her and it had been a month. And then we end up knocking her up, me being the guy that I am. I'm like, yeah, alright, let's do it. So, hippie, liberal, psychedelic, blah blah blah. She was faking that too, pretending to be interested in psychedelics, which is pretty fucking deceptive. Because in retrospect, the bad best that we had, the best times we had, were under the influence of mushrooms. And outside of that, those circumstances, we're not compatible. So we were so anti-compatible. That is a miracle. Anyway, moved to Lawrence. Joined a church again, in retrospect, fucking weird. She doesn't want to join the church. I'm like going through like a spiritual crisis. I'm like, I need something like this. It's a struggle. I have this neuropathy that's building up that I don't know about. I had no idea that I was building this slowly increasing nerve pain throughout my body that was contributing to my overall psychological well-being. Again, the analogy being increasing the sound of a fan over 20 years. Like the subtle whir of a refrigerator fan over 20 years. Don't notice it until you turn it off. But I was struggling. Compatibility, there's all kinds of reasons, but I persuaded her, because somebody I worked with was going to this church, Greenhouse Culture in Lawrence, and she didn't want to do it, and I was like, come on, let's do it. And then she gets one taste of it, and to her it's like, all it took was once. And there was this odd duality thing where like despite like pulling teeth to get her to go, I ended up being skeptical. Like, I don't know about this churchy stuff. And she was like, no, we're in it, we're all in. And I'm not gonna get into that, but we're having babies. Living in Lawrence, and we're both Bernie supporters, and we're both liberal. Like, I vote for a bag of tarantulas in 2016, and then here's where things get. It was Donald Trump was the moment, not just for us, but for, I believe, for the world at large. Truly. And it invoked things that were not necessary to invoke. The race stuff, it was all, in retrospect, it was all stagecraft. If you're looking at it with wide eyes, you can see it as stagecraft, but only in retrospect. It felt pretty real at the time. It really did. I was laughing my ass off. I was watching Joe Rogan with comedians on stage, laughing their asses off, like, what the fuck? When it was announced that he won in 2016. Now, what preceded Charlottesville, the societal divide, the Women's March, the Pussy Hat thing, you name it, the gay stuff, like the trans stuff, like all this stuff. The first presidency from 2016, it not only did it begin to drive a wedge into the society itself,
But the natural, organic sort of contrast, incompatibility. I gotta hurry up. The natural incompatibility, the organic incompatibility that we were fighting against was made more malleable. And she, being of a particular psychological type, glommed onto that ideological, the left side. And I, being father-minded, you become, if you're a man, if you're a real man, it is the most organic and natural thing is to become more conservative as you grow up and have a family and raise them. You start to question and understand the purpose behind all the rational, moral things. So I became more conservative, she became more liberal. And we finally separated in 2018. A lot of details there I'm not going to go into. I get into photography, and my children are the only people I've ever loved. I used this comparison before. It's a good comparison. Imagine that you have only ever been intoxicated by taking one shot of whiskey. You've had many experiences of being intoxicated on whiskey, but every single one of them was one shot of whiskey. And that's what you know to be intoxication. And then somebody hands you a bottle of whiskey, and you have no idea that they even made bottles of whiskey. That is my love for my children. I had only ever known love to be petty, hurtful, just painful in every way imaginable. And when I met my children, I really got to move past this or I'm going to get stuck crying. Okay, so you can't compare when you have a bottle of whiskey. The idea of getting drunk on whiskey changes, and it really begs the question as to whether or not you are even getting drunk. Was that even love? What was that? The supposed love that I had for the mother of my children, which I thought was pretty, decent. No. I never loved anybody compared to how much I love my kids. And I wanted to carry their purpose with strength and righteousness into the future. It became my meaning in life. Became my meaning. And putting masks on their faces, doing all the fucked up shit that was happening in 2020 was not just hurtful and painful and traumatizing for everybody who was an adult at the time. It was intentional trauma that was inflicted on the entire population, including people's children. The racial division was sown by the George Floyd psyop. I personally, I haven't even heard of anybody, and perhaps that is the case. I wonder if there are others out there. I showed you the Free Speech Brigade on Twitter, something I just put up on YouTube. The Free Speech Union that you can go find yourself, that motivated me to make the banner. And there must have been people who fought back. There must have been others. I cannot have been the only one. I would like to find out. But because I posted that George Floyd banner, I was subsequently targeted by the CIA using William Joseph Prettyman as a proxy. They attempted to make me a patsy and stage some sort of crime. I am still fearful. I tried to make a phone call today. And I'm going to stop with this. I tried to make a phone call. Out of all the things, I don't know if I mentioned this in the first one, but out of all the things that happened today, the encroaching sense of doom is why I'm making this. I don't know if I'll be making another one. And yeah, no, I'm just gonna stop. I hope. If I don't, though, if it is not for now, but somehow ends up being forever, I've done everything that I've done out of love. I promise. It is my desire and my intention to save the world. I read Hebrews chapter 9. And it talks about the need for the mediator to die. It talks about why it is that Christ had to die. Fascinating stuff. And in verse 9:28 of Hebrews 9:28 specifically brought up the phrasing of it is very interesting. It's something along the lines of, I can't remember it verbatim, but Hebrews 9:28 says that he will show up for those who seek him. At the second coming, I don't have the internet, I can't look it up right now. Wait, hold on. Yeah, no. I really hope to do this again soon, but where I am and what I'm going through is really fucking intense, man. I'm not suicidal. Don't think that for one fucking second. I am not suicidal. I never fucking will be, ever again. But this tech situation
the destroying of my computer, the people waiting for me out in public where there's no cameras. You could say that I was almost put in a situation today, 3 separate times, put in a situation where the possibility of physical violence was very palpable. And I just don't know. I don't know what to do. But hope. Here's to hope. Hopefully a better computer situation. Okay. Bye.